I don't know how things sound to Curran, but for me, you are, yeah, we're definitely losing a bit of connection with you, Droopy. Hopefully things do clean up. But spawning in on our first map, if we can get over these lag spikes. Droopy, are you with us? I kind of think that
I can hear you. I can hear you. It's still lagging, though.
You're back. All right. You ready for this?
I think so. It's still lagging for me, though. I do have to say that.
You're sounding much more clear now. At any rate, spawning in this southern position... Oh, no. Droopy, are you back? All right. Spawning
I'm gonna leave this game. You cover this yourself.
You
cover this yourself. I'm gonna let you. Yeah.
This is going to be the jankiest cast ever, but spawning in the southern position, our blue Protoss player. He is indeed from my insanity. He is Rain. While in the north side, our red Terran player, he is from Root Gaming. You should know him. He is SuperNova. And he is going to be opening up that gas and that Rax versus our, of course, Protoss player. Didn't quite get to see exactly how the openings went because we did have a little bit of connection shenanigans, but the map going to be Catalina, and of course with these kind of spawn locations, with the Terran up above the Protoss, we have seen some shenanigans going on. We have seen some rather abusive, I will say, elevator play from people. But unfortunately for you guys, the audience, Droopy will not be joining me for this cast, which means you get to experience the Cybert solo cast, which the reason why I don't solo cast is because I don't know enough about the game to solo cast, which is great. So, I hope you guys enjoy the, purely play-by-play commentary that's going to be coming your way as our friend Droopy does restart his PC. So that's going to be a fun time, USA. However, we do have that first Rax. We do indeed have that first Reaper coming on out from SuperNova. He's dropping down that command center as well at the natural expansion. And he's going to be poking in, doing what he can with the Reaper. But come on, this is Rain. Did you guys really expect to see a probe go down? Did you guys really expect to see something as devastating as that happen to a guy like Rain? Well, you should be ashamed of yourself. But we do have the factory going to be following it up for SuperNova. He's pumping out a couple of Marines with that reactor on his barracks. Going to be getting out just a couple of those defensive units. He's not going super crazy ham with the Reapers, which is something that we have seen players do. Maybe it's just because of the recent WCS matches that we saw a bit of success with that in TVZ, but in this case, SuperNova is just going to be going for that single Reaper. Now, the Robo is added on for our Rain player from My Insanity. He is going to be adding on that Robo after just that first Gateway, and of course, he got his expansion up and running relatively quickly as well. Gateway expand for him. Now, TVP. Who loves complaining about Widow Mine drops? Well, I think the answer is everyone loves complaining about Widow Mine drops. In this particular case, it is going to be straight into Hellions for SuperNova. We'll have to see if he's able to do any crazy run-bys, because more than once we've seen those run-bys just do devastating damage in any stage of the game. First Observer popping on out, or at least it's on the way for Rain. He's also got his Warp Gate going to be finishing up relatively soon. Now, unlike some of the previous series where we saw more of like that Forge Fast Extend style, where we saw a little bit more of a slower tech out from our Protoss player, it's a much quicker tech from Rain, and he's going to be following it up with those extra 2 gases at his natural, adding on the full 4 gases. Now, the first Hellion's going to be coming on in, and he does get himself off a nice photon overcharge, while in the main base was the actual destination of that Hellion. The Reaper was doing a little bit. He's doing what he can, and Well, there goes the second probe, enough to earn us the little probe kill overlay there. And guys, I hope you like to see yourself some Widow Mines, because that is what we have coming out from SuperNova. At least a couple of Widow Mines on the way as he adds himself on the engineering bay and the barracks as well. Now, kind of interestingly from our Protoss player is the fact that Rain did indeed pop that Photon Overcharge. I think he may have been expecting a little bit more aggression, a little bit more units coming out from SuperNova, but it was just those two Hellions, and they ended up just skating on right by into the main base, so not too big of a deal there. Observer is going to be heading in for Rain. He's going to take a look around. He's going to see absolutely everything that he wants to see. He's going to be like, huh, you got triple racks, you got a factory, but where is your starport? And he's going to see that it's just now going to be starting. So Rain is going to have a very good handle on what his opponent is doing. He's going to be like, all right, you probably got stim on the way, and I need to prepare accordingly. Now, in the case of Rain, that does mean he's added on his Colossus tech, that Robo Bay, but he's also got that Twilight Council and a couple of extra gateways added on just for safety. SuperNova adding on his gas at his natural is going to be just getting that bio-mine composition going. I mean, nobody really plays mech in TVP anyways, so bio-mine is more of what you expect to see. That is going to be a fair bit more standard. And Stargate is going to be swapping out with the factory there, so we can start to see that medevac production coming on out for SuperNova. And hey, maybe you're a Terran out there. Maybe you wanted to see some Protoss tiers. Maybe you wanted to see some Widow Mine drops. It hasn't happened yet, but always believe in your heart, Terran brothers. Believe in the Widow Mine drops, because they can happen pretty much any stage of the game, and they can still do a lot of damage pretty much any stage of the game. But for now, we're not going to be able to see that. Just more racks on racks on racks for our Terran player, as he's starting to move out on the field. More gateways for Rain, of course, double forge for those upgrades, which, I mean, nothing too crazy just yet. Neither one of these players really committing to any sort of third base play just yet. They're more looking for that kind of two-base sort of play. So we'll have to see exactly what they try to do. And maybe what you wanted to see was that Widow Mine drop, but Rain wanted to see it as well. And he's going to know exactly that it is coming on the way. And somehow SuperNova has got that one Marine just positioned outside of the range of these Colossi. I don't know exactly how that ended up working out. But I think I actually have a bit of a weird bug here. As I don't know if that infantry level 1s, I just noticed that it's frozen on the right side there. As we do have the Widow Mines dropping at the natural of Rain. They both burrow. Rain reacts perfectly, really quite well, and the Photon Cannon is going to be able to deal with one of the Widow Mines. The Colossi deal with the other Widow Mine really quite easily, and at the same time, Rain does establish himself a proxy pylon on the north side of the map, kind of directly in the middle there, right near that 12 o'clock location. Now, +1/+1 is going to be finishing up for our Protoss player. It is maybe a little bit ahead of the timing on the +1 attack for our Terran player. Ooh! Medevac does get sniped down there for Root SuperNova. He's going to be a little bit upset about that. And, of course, he does have those Medevacs cranking 2 at a time for quite a while. However, the third base, that lone forgotten third base being established for both players. They haven't really made the big plays that we sometimes see earlier in PvT. However, a 4 medevac drop is the source of the big play in this particular game. And also, I mean, hey, 2-2 is on the way for our Protoss player, and it is a fair bit ahead of the 2-2 of our Terran player. However, we do have that second engineering bay, which is going to be added on for SuperNova. He did try to just stim in a little bit there at near that third base location, and unfortunately for Rain, he's going to have to deal with this 4 medevac drop. How well will he handle it? I'm not exactly sure, but it has paused a little bit here. Now, the Probe Scout coming in, that classic 13-minute Probe Scout at the front base of SuperNova's base, not really going to be able to do anything there, but here's the Medivacs, all four of them unloading into the main mineral line. There's the Photon Overcharge, as we do have Stalkers coming in from the north, the Widow Mine Murrows, and it does a bit of friendly damage as Rain says, yum yum, I will take me some Medivacs, please donate away your units to me. And this was not some sort of distraction drop, that was a full-on 4 Medivac drop that did indeed only escape with 1 Medivac full of units. At the same time, in between the natural and the third base, Widow Mines do burrow. The force fields just completely zone away this army. One sentry ends up getting nabbed up by that Widow Mine shot, but the second Widow Mine shot only claims a Zealot and some shields. At the same time, SuperNova has not saturated his third. It is still completely devoid of mineral mining units, but at this point, the big transfer of SCVs, we may also end up seeing the Mule Hammer get dropped on that base just to help saturate it and get that eco up and running. But mid to late game PvT always, or almost always, does depend on a nice Templar Archives, which is exactly what we're seeing come out from Rain. And of course, we can expect to see Storm at some point. You know, maybe not if he's going for more of that, like, gym style where you just never, ever get Storm. But in this case, Rain is a player who has gotten Storm a fair bit in the past and has used Storm to great effect in the past, so we can potentially end up seeing that. SuperNova still posturing outside of the third of his opponent. And this Phoenix chasing around these Medivacs, of course, not really doing anything, just trying to keep an eye on them, trying to push them away, trying to make them a little bit scared for their lives. You know how I was talking about Storm earlier? You can forget all of that. Just ignore the fact that I even said that, as we've got the 3 Archons on the way. But this next big engagement, will it be enough for either player? Because on one hand, the upgrade advantage is going to be with our Protoss player, and there's no ghosts out on the field, with the Ghost Academy only not even finished up. In the main base, however, the Medivacs unloading, and ooh, Rain trying to just do what he can to deal with this Photon Overcharge will be popped, and it's, well, it may not be the last thing that Mothership Core does, as it does end up surviving that engagement with just 2 hit points. The Mothership Core is still alive and actually still has enough juice for 1 more Photon Overcharge, so we may end up seeing that used in the defense, potentially over at that 4th base location for our Protoss player, since both of these guys have had their 3rd bases for a fair time. Vikings are in relatively healthy numbers, but our Protoss player is moving out. He's not even going to be waiting for his 3-3 to finish. Vikings get some nice shots off on these Colossi. The Stalkers are trying to target down the Vikings as much as they can, and this is a huge number of Zealots going to be moving in at the back end of things. These Stalkers getting shredded, and now this Bio-Viking comp is going to be moving in to clean up the Colossi. Easy peasy as the Zealots charge into the main base, and yes, they're trying to do what damage that they can. However, at the natural ramp, they're meeting a bit more opposition, as there's the pickup in the Medivacs, the hot drop back into his main base to help support the Vikings, and Ogia and SuperNova is going to be able to hold off here just a little bit longer. Yeah, if you look at the supply, it tells a different story. We've got Storm on the way, as well as Rain is going to be feeling pretty darn good in this particular game. Up 40 supply over his opponent, up a base as well, and cleaning out more and more SCVs. As he's also, keep in mind, been basically up and upgrade for the past couple of minutes in this game. He has been up on those upgrades. He is going to be indeed adding on that +1 shields. And hey, Storm is on the way. Maybe we'll get to see those big, juicy money storms that can decide PvT in many ways. But for now, the Medivac count is relatively low for our SuperNova Terran. He does have a fair number of bio units that are going to need healing up. And his Viking count isn't necessarily super crazy high, but he was able to do so much damage to the Colossi that he doesn't necessarily need 1,000,000 Vikings to clear the skies. He's going to have to worry about those High Templar. And yes, the Ghost Academy did survive, but this engagement, the Storms opening the doors for this first engagement between these later game armies as the Vikings get cleaned up by the Stalkers, and now the Zealots are pushing forward. It's going to have to be the stutter step for the win, but when Storms are raining upon you, it's so hard to keep your bio alive. The GG comes down, Rain takes game number 1. And that will do it for game number 1 of our best of 7. Now we are going to try to get Droopy back into this call. We are going to try to get back to normalcy for this series. But you are watching the Team Gravity Fight Night brought to you by Hitbox TV. We've got Rain versus SuperNova, the continuation of this best of 7. Don't go anywhere.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm back. Sorry for missing out on game number 1. My internet just was crapping out on me. I restarted everything. Anything that had a power button on it, I restarted, including the lights in my room. So we're good. I think we're good. But you know what? Cybert, I think, did a great job. So you know what? It shouldn't have been too bad or bad at all. I think, yeah.
And, I mean, we got to watch Rain versus SuperNova, so that's always a fun deal. I mean, pretty much anyone in the world is going to be looking up to these people. These are not guys that people are going to be like, oh, I beat them on ladder. Oh, you remember that IEM where I beat Rain 4-3 in the finals? Like, I mean, there's very few people in the world who can actually say that about these two guys. So, always going to be providing some interesting games, always going to be providing some high-level matches, and of course, it's all brought to you by Hitbox.tv. So a big thank you to them.
And I just got word that a fellow viewer has donated $50 to the Fight Night Fund.
Wow.
And it is, I think it is Oficu. So thank you very much, Oficu, for that. I mean, the man subscribed to us earlier today, and he's donated $50 to help support the Fight Night cause. And that is very much appreciated. And, you know, we're trying to do these events week after week. We're looking to continue this, guys. So we are happy to bring this content to you. So thank you, Oficu, for being a part of it and for your donation.
Indeed. And of course, you guys can help Droopy join the game so that we can get this game underway.
Oh, yes.
But you guys can also follow Team Gravity here on Hitbox.tv. You know how easy it is? You just hit that blue follow button. Easy peasy. It's like one click. Takes a couple of seconds of your time, but you get to show your support. And you also get to show Hitbox that you care when they put on these Fight Night show matches. Because if you don't like watching Rain versus SuperNova, I don't know what in this world you do like, because this is one of the highlights of life. Like, if there's a list of all the best things in the world, Rain versus SuperNova is on that list, and it's probably pretty high up as well. So, hey, what are you going to do? Bonnie Research Station, however, is going to be our next map.
So what is the score right now, Cyber? 1-0 in favor of Rain?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And we see the choice of Vonnie Research Station by SuperNova. Surprise, surprise. I always see this as a map that Terrans are fans of, and seems like SuperNova is no exception to that.
Indeed, but our Protoss player spawning up in the north. We'll see if he is a fan of it because he is playing for Team My Insanity. He's up 1-0 in this best of 7. This is Rain. And boy, was he making it rain with those storms.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. And then on the bottom, we do have the Blue Terran player representing Root. He is a fellow alumnus of Fight Night. He was able to defeat Patience in a 4-2, I believe, looking to punch in another victory here. But he's going to have to first fight back from this 0-1 deficit. It is going to be SuperNova.
You could say he's going to have to explode on out of this deficit.
No comment.
Probably the best choice, but what you should comment on is the shenanigans.
Right. So we're sitting.
No, Droopy, not again.
Ladies.
Not 2 games in a row.
God.
Are you back? Oh no. Alright guys, if you can't tell, you're probably new to StarCraft. This is what we call a proxy racks. Or even proxy 2 racks, because that's the number of them. And Droopy, my friend, don't drop.
Well, the game's still running. I still hear you.
Yes!
Can you hear me now?
We can.
Good. No? What?
Yes, we can.
Not. Okay. Okay, great. This is like that Verizon commercial back from last decade.
Yeah,
Can you hear
man.
me now? Great. Yes. Okay. Well, we are seeing this probe hide out and do something funky too, by the way. He's doing his own proxy, and that is indeed the second pylon. So it's got to be a Stargate that Rain is thinking of doing. So we have competing proxies, although one of them is going to hit a lot sooner than the other.
Yeah, quite a bit sooner. Now, of course, both of... Oh, we've got a lot of... Oh, will they see anything? Will they? Nope, they're going straight for it. They did not want to detour at all. And there is the Stargate that you just mentioned. Maybe if there would have been some inkling of an idea from SuperNova, if there might have been shenanigans from Rain, he would have diverted a little bit. But instead is just going to be pushing on in. He's got so many SCVs that have been pulled for this proxy play that this is most likely going to be some devastating action. But either way, there's the stutter step from the Marines.
Right,
the
so
SCVs...
it looks like probes are being pulled.
Yeah, they're trying to body block the SCVs, trying to keep away the probes, trying to keep things here for SuperNova. And can he do the damage that he needs? 6 probes are down, but now the Mothership Core is out, a Stalker as well, and the bunker has not been established. That critical defensive structure, the bunker, can it actually be finished? SuperNova can't dive on top of it. The probes are in the way, and unfortunately, this Stalker is just keeping at bay these Marines, but they've eaten through the probes. 14 of them down, and unfortunately for our Protoss friend, he does not have that Stargate to try to follow up on. The GG comes down, and SuperNova will take game number 2 with some proxy shenanigans. And like it or not, when you cheese a cheeser, you never know how it's going to end. In this case, it ended very well for Root Gaming SuperNova. Droopy, are you back?
Yeah, I think so. And we're starting StarCraft again. This is quite the shame. I really wanted to see these 2 players play. I did see a slideshow just now, so I guess it's the next best thing when you're watching a StarCraft PowerPoint of Rain and SuperNova. But it was nice to see SuperNova get that win there. And now things are tied up, it appears, right?
It is indeed. We are not going to see a 4-0 all kill either way. It's going to be a little bit back and forth. Maybe it's only going to be cheese. Sometimes you see those series where, like, one player wins the macro games and the other player just alternates whether they cheese or not, and that's how the entire series goes. We could end up seeing that. Maybe, maybe not. I would like to see some macro wins out of SuperNova, but that's just me being maybe a little bit biased.
Oh, yes.
However, we are going to try to get things back underway. We are on the Korean server, which may be a cause of the problem for Droopy.
Possibly. It is a very far away place.
It is. We unfortunately did not get up and actually fly.
Yeah. Well, it is tied. It's just like these two games didn't happen. So as far as I'm concerned, it's still 0-0. We're just going to head into best of 5 here.
It's like a third preliminary match.
Let's just call it that. Let's just call it that.
Yeah.
All right. So don't forget, guys, click that follow button to help support us. If you're watching this on Team Liquid, you're missing out on the chat that's going on right now. Remember, subscribers and all these things can post these GIFs and whatnot. So if you come join the party, you're not going to be sorry.
No, indeed. You can even, if you really want to, you can join in the polls that happen that are integrated with the chat if you want to.
All right. So heading into game number 3, the score tied 1-1. We are going to have this happen on Overgrowth LE. First, we're going to take a look at the red Terran on the upper right-hand side. He's the player for Root. He just battled back from a 0-1 deficit and evened things up with that proxy Rax, and it was well-timed, excellently executed. Ladies and gentlemen, it is SuperNova.
And in the south, our blue Protoss player from My Insanity. Hopefully he doesn't go insane in this series. It is Rain.
All right, hopefully no funky lagging this time on my part. Really apologize for that for the first 2 games, but like I said, let's just pretend that never happened. We move into this best of 5. We do have a Rax being built here by SuperNova, a little bit far off from that depot, so doesn't look like he wants to wall, I suppose. Grabbing the gas immediately afterwards. Pretty normal stuff coming out of this guy. I'd expect a Reaper and be surprised if it wasn't.
Yep, Reaper Expand is pretty darn common. While we do have more of just that standard gateway on the way for our Protoss player and the Assimilator shortly after. And Rain, he's got his probe checking around his main base. He's just looking for any sort of devious play coming out of SuperNova. And, I mean, anytime you get Proxy 2 Raxed by a guy, you don't know if you can ever trust him again. You always have that memory of like, yeah, that time you totally killed me with a Proxy 2 Rax. I won't forget. I'll ever hate you for it.
I'll tell you what, though. If SuperNova had built those any Proxy Rax inside the base of Rain, that would have been something. But I don't think he's bold enough to do that here. So he's going to go ahead and scout with the SCV first. Reaper's going to come afterwards. So if anything, it's SuperNova who's being a little safe here, sending that SCV first just to make sure that Rain has his stuff where they're supposed to be. And that SCV is going to basically pave the way for the Reaper, perhaps.
Yeah, now we do have that command center also on the way for our Terran player. Rain is adding his Nexus as well, which is a fairly standard timing there, but Reaper making his way on down the field. He's going to be potentially poking away at some probes. However, as we've seen from Rain, he is not falling asleep at his keyboard. He does indeed have the control necessary to keep his probes alive.
Yep, so the Reaper from SuperNova finding a little bit of a wall there next to the Nexus, so there's really no easy way to get into that. And it's like that, these two units are just dancing around each other. Rain is actually controlling that mothership core. It's not just on patrol, by the way. That's just how fast he is, right? He's doing that and macroing. Natural is on its way for both players, about the same progress for both. SuperNova, though, already transitioning onto a factory.
But that is not a normal factory. I mean, if we take just a look at the positioning, the
Yes.
timing of it may be fairly standard, but the positioning of it certainly is not. Now, we do have the Twilight Council on the way for Rain, but is he going to be ready for the hidden Widowmine drop? I don't know, man. This could do some pretty big damage.
Yeah, I mean, Proxy Starport as well. And so, well, it's kind of up to Rain to scout this, but it's not really usual for Toss to just go and scout right now into that main base at this point in the game. So he's not going to know that those structures are missing from the main base. I mean, at this point in time, you go there, you would see, okay, there's supposed to be this stuff there, but he's not going there just yet. So we'll see if Rain is going to get surprised by this. He is trying to go with Blink right now and have a couple stalkers out, though.
Yep. Second Widowmine is on the way, and like you were saying, Blink will be, I mean, it's still a fair ways off, but depending on how quickly and how effectively this is hit, Blink may be able to help defend kind of the later stage of this drop if we end up seeing some sort of drop-redrop shenanigans, which does sometimes happen. However, we do have Marines also going to be pushing out, so this will not be simply a Widowmine drop by itself, because that's not nearly as strong as if we see this sort of Marine distraction shenanigans.
Yep, the Marines are going to move their way in here right now. I don't see this doing too much, especially with Photon Overcharge available, but these 4 Stalkers for now will hold down the fort, do a little bit of kiting against these Marines. That drop in the meantime, though, is about to make its way into the main base. There's 2 Widowmines. They're burrowing. Is Rain going to see this? No, he is not. Those Widowmines will unload, and kaboom! That is a lot of workers killed, 7 in total by the 2 Widowmines. Rain now is like, oh crap, I got to make an observer.
At the same time, though, our Terran player has actually lost more in minerals. Now, if you guys were watching over at the natural expansion, you got to see for yourself some pretty great stalker control from Rain. He was just very precise, very careful. You know why he didn't pull his probes? You know why he didn't notice those Widowmines? Because he was at the natural making sure that none of his stalkers died. And yeah, that's a little bit unfortunate for him, especially since we do have a couple of more Widowmines going to be coming on out. At least one more Widowmine will be here for a potential drop over at that same location, while the starport does indeed fly its way back to the, at least natural.
I'll say this too. Even though SuperNova just took a lot of probes off the hands of Rain, he had to cut SCVs to be able to make these attacks. Rain, on the other hand, he's been probing nonstop. He's actually on 48 workers compared to the 39 of SuperNova. He's actually ahead in this game right now as far as economy.
Yeah, and it's not like there's any sort of third CC, third orbital to drop insane numbers of mules. He's just got those 2 orbitals for now. Now, potentially, this extra Widowmine, which is currently, I guess, rallied just to that watchtower, could do some pretty heavy damage. We do have the potential for more probe sniping to happen by those Widowmines. But for now, it is going to be that advantage in Rain's favor. Just a little bit there.
And we're about to have dueling drops here, it looks like. Another Widowmine drop heading over to the south side of the map, but the thing we're looking at here is a DT drop. And immediately SuperNova pulls all SCVs, which is a really fast reaction. I mean, wow, just the reflexes are so quick on these guys. The first DT over here at this ramp is going to be within range of that missile turret, just barely. The others just looking for things to kill, just having to hit at random buildings, it looks like. So SuperNova should be minimizing his damage here.
Ooh, man, that one DT is just out of range of a scan, forcing a second scan. Now, we do have a pretty hefty supply block because of these DTs, and there is a third DT still hidden away in the main of SuperNova. He is not done with this DT attack that's coming in here. At the same time, SuperNova does have a drop on that right side of the map. He might be able to do some serious damage with it, but we'll have to see. More and more these, oh man, these DTs just doing untold amounts of damage, as unfortunately for SuperNova, he does not have the detection necessary, but, I mean, it's not necessarily like game-ending damage.
I suppose there is this. Oh my gosh, if that DT can actually finish off that tech lab, that would be bad
oh
news
my
for
gosh.
SuperNova. But aside from that, you know, the other thing about the, oh my gosh, he is going to, Oh, it's so close. But I think
Oh
the
my
SCVs will
word.
have the repair. They're going
The
to have it.
SCVs with the repair. Yeah, I mean, maybe he starts targeting down some of the SCVs. Look at that mine unburrow from SuperNova. But, Droopy, I believe you were going to finish a thought.
Yes, that thought being that, you know what? Every scan that SuperNova has to throw down for these DTs, that's one less mule, 270 less minerals.
That's true.
And that's a great thing for Rain. I mean, the great advantage that Terran has when it comes to mining is those mules. You take that away from them, and that makes life a lot more difficult for them, especially when they're down by 21 workers.
Yeah. Especially when we're talking about, just that 2 base versus soon to be, oh, well, it would be saturated 3 bases, but in this case, 12 workers going down. Those Widow Mines, although one of them did get picked off by that cannon, they have done their job. However, the follow-up aggression from SuperNova, can it do enough damage to really cement SuperNova in a good position? We'll see. He snipes down 1 sentry immediately, but he doesn't necessarily have enough to really deal with these Colossi.
That one Widow Mine shot was so perfectly placed, and it's almost like he did it on purpose to snipe the optimum amount of workers. Like, usually a Widow Mine, people just land it somewhere in the mineral line, and it takes like maybe 6 workers. But that thing, my goodness, huge hit there. But still, SuperNova finds himself under SCV'd here.
Yep, he is. Oh, well, I think that was just an observer in the middle of the map. Maybe not the thing you want to be killing off with that Widow Mine. However, we do have the big load up, the potential for a Doom drop coming out from SuperNova. It is going to be spotted. There's 1 medevac targeted down. A 2nd gets eliminated. A 3rd goes down relatively quickly as well. Photon Overcharge does get popped. The Widow Mines aren't necessarily going to be able to get into a great position here as the Marine Marauder chases these Stalkers back and back, but the Colossi is here. 3-4 are going to be joining them as we do have the pickup and the drop off. Oh, that medevac goes down. Full of units.
Oh, yeah, that was a questionable amount of damage done by SuperNova. Mostly those army units being taken out there. Not much done to the economy or tech of Rain. And so Rain is still sitting in a pretty good spot, actually ahead, 145 to 117 supply. A lot of that is in workers as well. This is like a dream scenario for Protoss. This is the mid game, folks. Terran is not only supposed to be ahead, they're supposed to be the ones that are aggressive. It looks like right now the aggression isn't paying off for SuperNova just yet, but he is going to try to snipe this 3rd base.
Now, of course, if Rain is able to get a big army engagement, then he will most likely have the crashing victory. But in this case, SuperNova, he's playing it smart. He's using what he can, when and where he can. Sniping a Nexus here, and he's able to get away without too much damage. He is going to be taking his own 3rd base. Extremely delayed in comparison to most normal games. But that did indeed come at the cost of, well, the proxy factory, which is still pumping out Widow Mines.
Yeah, that's a very important observation there, Cybert, about this 3rd base from SuperNova. He sacrificed a lot to be able to put on the pressure he's done right now. And it's mainly also because of the fact that those DTs really delayed so much of SuperNova's macro. So really, taking out that 3rd base is the least that SuperNova could have done. He might even need to consider an SCV pull right here, to be honest with you.
I mean, it is something that he could try going for. The Colossi count is a little bit high for an SCV to pull to really be comfortable, but like you talk about, I mean, when you're behind in a game, you kind of have to take risks. And one of those risks is making potentially an uncomfortable SCV pull. We do have 2 Archons going to be morphing in, and we also have +3/+3 going to be finishing up in just a few moments from our Protoss player. If you take a look at those upgrades, this is going to be a sick advantage for our Protoss player, which is why if he's able to get a big army engagement, he could have that crushing victory. Now the Zealots are getting trapped a little bit behind the Stalkers, behind the Archons, but now they're free. Rain takes the victory. The GG gets dropped, and it's a 2-1 advantage for the Mayan Sanity Protoss.
And it was a 3-1 advantage in those upgrades. At that point, there is no fighting the Protoss in that situation. Just to start off with, the Protoss units, just by design, are already more expensive, and on their own are already better quality-wise. And then on top of that, you add in the upgrade advantage. it's not easy to deal with that.
Yep. And I mean, SuperNova, he tried to make the heavy aggression work. He tried to make the secret aggression work with that hidden Stargate and the hidden factory. He got actually some nice probe kills, but in the end, it only ended up being about 20 probe kills overall. And he had sacrificed, I think, 5 or 6 Widow Mines at that point, so he wasn't necessarily getting the most efficient probe kills that he could. They were pretty good, but it wasn't enough to stop the macro of Rain, to stop those insane upgrades, and to stop just the sheer overwhelming force of Rain.
All right, and we received another donation today from Poison. She's actually a member of Team Gravity. She's our web designer, and so big thanks to her for also supporting us in this fight night. Yeah, I mean, it's going to go a lot. We are going to basically utilize all these funds to help pay for the show matches and whatnot, on top of the sponsorship we already are getting from Hitbox. And so it's an exciting time for us in StarCraft, and we hope you viewers feel the same way.
And to continue the exciting times, we have Secret Spring, which anyone who's played this map knows that it's a funky, funky map, and it can lead to some weird, weird games.
All right, so on Secret Spring, game number 4, and the score is 2-1 in favor of Rain. So we're going to look at Rain right here. He is the blue Protoss, now playing for My Insanity on the lower left-hand side. I already said his name twice. I'm going to say it again. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Rain.
And on the right side, our Terran player. He is down 1-2. He needs your cheers. Playing for Root Gaming. Going for a proxy of some sort. It is SuperNova.
Oh, and here we go with another one of those funky openers here. It looks like it's going to be a proxy barracks. And he's put this kind of behind here. I don't see him lifting this into the main base, but then again, it is kind of a bit of a walk as far as the Marines moving over. But this is kind of a repeat of game number 2, right? This is kind of what you were casting there with that proxy 2 racks Marine, but with gas being mined this time around, could be Reaper. Probably will be.
Yeah, and I did like Rain, how he just pulled one probe, he went up to the high ground, and he just checked that kind of, I don't know if it's safe to call it notorious at this point, but I've seen some pretty dirty Terran play where you like proxy Iraqs on the high ground of the in-base natural, and then you get a bunker up there to cover your bunker building on the low ground, and it's very all-in-ish, it's very dirty. But it's one of those things that can work from time to time, and Rain was not going to allow any of those shenanigans to end up working. However, this SCV, he's kind of hidden away as well. We may not be we may not see the end just yet of the aggressive play from SuperNova. It may not stop with just 1 Rax.
Well, here's the first Reaper out right now. And it's going to get some pot shots off on these probes. Still no offensive units out for Rain just yet. He's starting to chrono out that Stalker, but man, it's still a ways away. Same with the Mothership Core that's being chronoed as well. Now, Rain is doing his best to micro these probes. If we take a look at the worker's kill, it's only 1 so far, but that could change.
Oh, my.
Oh, that by able just in time.
The number of low health probes is actually kind of silly for Rain. Now, he did lose a fair amount of mining time, and we also do have a proxy factory on the way. So Rain may be thinking, ha, I have defeated the aggressive, cheesy play of my Root Gaming opponent. I am safe to move out and put on some counter pressure. And he would be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, that factory's about to finish up. You know, Widowmine's going to come out of that soon. Not sure if Rain or SuperNova is actually going to lift that into the main base. Probably not. It's a little too time consuming.
I mean,
but now we are seeing Rain put on some counter pressure here with the Stalker denying the construction of this bunker.
yeah. Now, in game number 2 on Vonnie Research, we ended up seeing a bit of a proxy play from both players. In this game, it may not be a proxy play from Rain, but he's going into the aggression quite heavily, and he does need to get out of there with his mothership core while he still has not spotted this factory. Now, fortunately, Rain didn't go for any crazy, like, fast expansion. Otherwise, this would have been a fair bit more devastating. But instead, Rain is going to be scouting out the natural of his opponent. He's going to see, oh, you've got an SCV there, but were you really going to expand, or were you just trying to trick me? And it looks like it was going to be a real expansion, but Widow Mine at the main base of Rain. Here's the burrow. Can SuperNova get some money shots? No! Well, maybe he unburrows, repositions the mine as well, forcing Rain to just pull all of his probes, and one worker. That is not the kill that SuperNova wanted.
Yep, this reminds me of a game earlier today, although it wasn't part of Fight Night. Actually, I don't even know why I'm mentioning this. Basically, the point I wanted to make was that Rain is now going to count in his head 40 seconds. Unlike the game I casted earlier today, I expect him to have that count done well, but that... Oh, see? He's pulling away just in time. Just in time. And leaving only one probe to die and going back to mine. Now, every player knows to do that, but I can't tell you how many players actually forget by the time they count to 20.
Yep. Now, the cannon is just now going to be starting for Rain. He does have 40 seconds to wait, and the factory is going to be targeted down. Oh, the Widow Mine doesn't burrow. Yes, it does, which means this factory is a little bit safer for at least a little while longer. The mothership core came down to 5 HP, and then he was like, well, I might as well move out back on the map because I'm not allowed to use my own main base because of those Widow Mines.
Speaking of those Widow Mines, one Widow Mine just unloaded a missile on a bunch of probes. SuperNova getting that kill he wanted so badly. Rain just missed it that time, so the man's not perfect. And now he's behind in probes because of that. 19 to 25 of SuperNova. And SuperNova is actually now kind of armed with an upper hand for a bit here.
Ooh.
Of course, pending these stalkers.
Yep, the Blink Stalkers right into the main base, targeting down, well, SCV after SCV, as we do have another Widow Mine burrowing on the opposite side of the map, getting a little bit of a shot off there. And once again, the mothership core does manage to escape. And there's more Stalkers here on the low ground. Of course, with Blink finished up, the micro of Rain may very well be godlike. We'll have to see as he's targeting down the Marauders, trying to clean up the units that kill him the quickest. And now it's the Blink onto the low ground, keeping as many Stalkers on the high ground to preserve that vision as possible. Targeting down more and more SCVs. 15, 16 do go down. 3 probes getting killed on the other side of the map. That Widow Mine being so annoying, as there's just too many Widow Mines in the main base of Rain. But he's got too many Stalkers in the main base of SuperNova.
Yes, and you know what? Rain is getting in the counter of his life right now. You may have Widow Mines in my base, but I have a lot of Stalkers in yours. And look at this. SCVs being pulled in the last-ditch resort. The bio unit's still alive, but without the SCV brothers to tank for them, well, we are just seeing the Stalkers control the territory here. And there's absolutely nothing going on anymore in SuperNova's base.
He's trying the cute micro with the Marauder into the bunker, but it's not quite enough. Rain reigns supreme with these Stalkers. SuperNova trying to reposition his Widow Mines to get a better shot, but they're just not in an optimal spot to help clear out this probe line. And he actually might get a really good shot off. No, it looks like he is going to have to be forced to unburrow at the same time. In the main base of SuperNova, Rain is going for the push-in. The Blink Stalker micro is pretty much impeccable, as actually these Widow Mines have waddled their way across the map, and now Rain is just doing more and more damage.
Yep, and Rain just doesn't see any reason to stop, and why should he? He's taking out everything in range. That Widow Mine has been in this base for quite some time, and took out another couple of probes, but still, that's just that's a moral victory when it comes to things for SuperNova, who's just really trying to land these buildings wherever the Stalkers are. And now that Rain found that last expansion, GG.
Wow. Yeah, Rain did indeed find that in-base natural, and 2 games in a row one on Overgrowth, one on Secret Spring. Rain does indeed pull out the victory. Now, very crucially there, SuperNova tried to bring Mines back into his main base to defend, but Rain was like, hey, you know what's good against Widow Mines? Blink Stalkers with perfect blink, so you just blink away from the explosion. And that's what he did.
Absolutely. So, man, that was a micro battle at its best.
Yes.
Both players being really on not, I mean, you know, there may have been two bases, but it wasn't really, it was still early in the game. And I mean, we kind of saw both players showcase their abilities there with the unit control, and Rain with the probe micro in the beginning and everything after that. It's good stuff.
Yeah, Rain is just on top of his control. It's kind of sad that he did drop out of the GSL this season, but he remains a top Protoss despite that. Inferno Pools is going to be our next map. We've seen this one a couple of times on Fight Night, at least I have, casting with you, Droopy. It's led to some very, very weird games, much like Secret Spring, but it's also led to some pretty interesting games.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of seen SuperNova kind of pull out all the stops here in these games. He might feel just a little, how should I say, like, I'd say he's a little underfavored in this matchup, which is kind of why he's, you know, trying to be a little innovative here. I'm going to do a proxy here and whatnot. Inferno Pools is a good place to do this kind of stuff too. We're looking at these island expansions, big map. You can sneak out a Ninja Expo. I could really see this coming into the strategy for SuperNova here.
Yeah, I imagine he looked at it and he was like, man, this is the last game that I may end up playing in this series. It's match point. I'm going to go myself for you know, Inferno Pools, which, I mean, if you want to choose a 4-player map, maybe he was going to think Deadwing if he wanted to play a little bit more standard, but Inferno Pools, like you were talking about, is just so weird that could be the very reason that he chose it. Now, SuperNova tried the proxy play on that last map. Barracks into factory, into lift the factory into your opponent's main. Rain was just too good for it. His control was too solid. So he can't win in the macro game versus Rain. He can't win every time in the cheesy game versus Rain. What does SuperNova even do?
Yep, it is a tough question and answer, but because if I'm not mistaken, this is match point. Am I right?
Yes, it is. It is 3-1 in Rain's favor.
Okay. Exactly. So time is running out here. It's going to have to be now if SuperNova wants to stay alive for that $60 prize. Runner-up is going to get 20, though, so they don't walk away empty-handed. Let's see who ends up being what. So on Inferno Pools, game number 5, we do have here the first player. It is going to be the blue Protoss spawning on the upper right-hand side. If playing for My Insanity, up 3-1, this is Rain.
And spawning just across from him on the horizontal axis, we do have our red Terran player from Root Gaming. It is SuperNova. But who says you have to
So we do see
cheat?
SuperNova opening up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I was about to say
don't
he's
have
opening
to
up
cheat.
standard.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to be a Reaper opening for him. Rain, on the other hand, just going to stay at home as well. And, you know, just taking a look at the poll here in Hitbox, a lot of you guys seem to disagree with me. Well, now it's a new poll. But before, 67% actually voted for SuperNova, and only 33% voted for Rain. So, and, you know, it's not over till it's over. So I'm not going to say, oh, you guys are wrong because the score is 3-1. We've seen plenty of comebacks here in Fight Night. So you guys still have the opportunity to stick it to me in your vote.
Which you guys should. You shouldn't be the sort of person who waits until the last possible moment to cast your vote. You should cast it early. You should be proud of that vote. And of course, if you're on Team Liquid or embedded on another website, then you're not going to know what we're talking about. You're going to be like, what are you talking about? What poll? I don't see a poll. Is someone throwing out a straw poll link in the chat or something like that? The answer is no. The answer is the poll is integrated to the chat, which is really quite nice, as much like integration in this build is this Nexus from Rain.
You know what I want? I want these polls to be tied to each account, and then you have a record telling you, like, if it's like a poll to decide who wins, and then you have a record for, like, how many of them you got right. That'd be actually really interesting.
And then it could become like a game, you know, like who has the best, like, poll percentage? Who cares about win percentage in the game? Who has the best hitbox team gravity poll percentage?
Exactly.
That's what I want.
And then if you're a winner after a certain series or whatever, you get a free subscription. How about that?
That would be interesting.
It would.
That would be some nice kind of giving back to the community action. I don't know if that's actually possible. That sounds like a lot of database stat tracking to do.
I don't know. Maybe something Hitbox can consider. For now, though, we are seeing some considerations on the part of Rain to go with Robo here, it appears. And he is just going to go right into that tech. No funky stuff with the oracles or the blink. We saw him go DT before as well, but he is just going to go the good old standard right into Robo, maybe even double forge.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the DT was more of a reaction to what was going on in that Overgrowth game with the proxy Widow Mines and all of the drops and just that silliness coming out of SuperNova. However, this game, it's not quite about that same sort of silliness, but it's the 1-1-1 coming out from SuperNova, which we have seen players transition into a more standard macro game, but we've also seen players, maybe more commonly, put on a bit of pressure with their 1-1-1. Maybe a couple of Marines and a Widow Mine dropped into the main base of your opponent. Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, we had something like that in the last game, right? The only difference is here it's not proxied, but yeah, Widow Mine's always a thorn in the side for Protoss. One thing, though, is because Rain is going for the Robo so early, he is going to be able to get that Observer out, but of course he does have to be on top of things in dealing with the Widow Mine that's now heading towards the natural.
Yep, will he pull his probes? The answer thus far, well, is yes. Now, 3 probes do end up going down, but there's a nice force field from Rain. He's going to be locking those Marines out from the main base, and his timing was quite nice on that. At the same time, the first observer is heading out across the map for Rain. He's going to keep an eye on exactly what his opponent is doing. However, the second observer back home is going to help him clear out his natural, and the medevac, don't be fooled. That aggression was not the only thing that SuperNova has planned. His medevac is boosting across the map to try to do even more damage.
Yep. And, you know, with Rain opening up with Robo, he's basically necessarily going to be playing on the defensive here. He's just going to have to basically hold off against all these drops. And now, in addition to that drop in the main, there's also going to be some units heading towards the natural as well from SuperNova. So he's really dialing up some aggression here. These Stalkers, though, are in perfect position to deny the drop from SuperNova. It's like Rain has some, you know, sick second sense. Like, he just knows that something is bound to go there. It has Stalkers there already.
I wonder if Rain plays a lot of StarCraft too. You think maybe he was like, no, that can't possibly be it. Rain does indeed have some great control, some great star sense as well, but there's the pickup from SuperNova, the reposition. Those Widow Mines, they're coming so close to just doing incredible damage, and then Rain is like, nope, I'm gonna pull my probes. Photon Overcharge will kill off the Widow Mine. Easy peasy. Easy peasy for Rain. Really hard to do in real life.
Yep, and in the meantime, Rain is continuing to probe here. SuperNova still trying to make this attack work. He has a lot of units over here. He definitely has an opportunity to make something happen. He's going to push into that natural right now, but with the Photon Overcharge still active, he may actually do what we're seeing right here. So I guess he is doing it. And Rain sort of just knows it. The guy knows that that's going to happen because you're not going to come in my base with Photon Overcharge. So let me go into the high ground right now and make sure that you don't come up here. And my goodness, Rain just routing this drop.
I believe that is what we call a shutdown, as everything pretty much just gets trashed by Rain. The Widow Mines don't fire. They're forced to be pulled back. And I mean, even the one Widow Mine that's kind of in a sneaky position, you could say, out at the front for SuperNova, the Observer's sitting right on top of it.
Yeah, that too. So I mean, really, the guy's just 5 steps ahead of you as you're trying to make your step, and it's difficult to deal with that because you're trying to put on aggression right now, which means you are taking sacrifices to your economy or tech. So if you can't make your aggression work, you're just gonna fall behind. And that's what's happened here. 55 probes right now to the 50 of Supernova, and we're seeing +1 armor already done for Rain's units.
Every time it's like Supernova tries to fly a drop over and Rain's got his observer positioned in just the right spot. Supernova is like pausing right next to that observer and Rain's like, yeah, please, no, just sit right there. I will happily keep an eye on your units. Nice observer spread from Rain. Obviously, he knows the tricks that a Terran is going to try to pull to gain an advantage in this game. He's having none of it. But he is, however, having an additional 4 gateways added on, which should be bringing his count up to, I believe, 7. Might be 8.
Yep, and Supernova now is going to take his third. One thing he can do here is if he can't do damage to Rain, then at least contain him on 2 bases. And so that's what he's going to try to attempt to do out here. I don't really see him, being bold enough to venture too far into the natural with this. He might poke in, but back out immediately once he sees the third Colossus. We'll see, though, if he's bold enough to stay. He's sticking around, but now he's going to back off. There's absolutely no way he can fight those 3 Colossus at this point. So Supernova, having taken the third, he can probably afford to wait a little bit here. But Rain, since he went for the Robo so early, he's going to have a pretty high Colossus count when it's all said and done. And yes, that probe who was trying to build a third base just got taken out by that Widow Mine.
Yep. Rain immediately realizes it. He sends another probe over there to finish the job. And again, Rain's Widow Mine's... Nope, Rain's observer spread, rather, is quite nice. He's cleaned up pretty much every Widow Mine that has tried to be aggressive, that has tried to do damage for Supernova, and Supernova has cleaned up exactly 0 observers of Rain. However, this third base is here for Supernova. It's considerably ahead that of Rain's own third, which was a nice delay using that Widow Mine by Supernova that you talked about, Droopy. But unfortunately for Supernova, that orbital timing was indeed very slow on that third.
Yeah, well, nonetheless, he can probably start putting some SCVs on that thing to take advantage of it. But he is under supplied right now at the workers compared to Rain, 55 to 64. Mules, though, will even that up. But it's not going to be before long that he needs that third command center to start working for him to maintain any economic advantage. Right now, Rain is continuing to work on his upgrades, now with double forge happening for him, +2 attack and armor on the way. Supernova, on the other hand, lagging a bit behind, only researching +1 armor as I speak, and has yet to start on a second engineering bay.
Yep. And again, like we were kind of seeing on Overgrowth, Rain is leading in that upgrade count. And it's to the point where once the head-to-head army battle happens, if it ever happens, it could be the, like 3 +3 +3 for Rain to the +1 of Supernova, in which case Rain's either equal or superior army is going to need some serious equaling up. As we got the boys, choo-choo, they have been pulled, and once again, Supernova is going to try his chances. This is the last chance he's going to get, though.
All right, so this is the big battle of all battles. Supernova going to back up and let those SCVs get in the front. We saw that error made earlier today between Kelazur and whoever Kelazur was playing. But right now, these SCVs are doing some work here, forcing Rain to back off momentarily.
Yeah.
3 Vikings over here to focus down on those Colossus, and it looks like there's still a chance here. Supernova cleaning up some of the Colossi. 2 of them go down, and suddenly probes are having to be pulled here. It is the other boys that are now going into the battle, and Supernova still hanging on, but the numbers are falling.
Oh, man. Supernova not able to make it happen. GG gets called, and Rain will take this Fight Night champion 4-1. And that will do it. That main event wrapping up some dedicated power play from Rain, just stomping all over Supernova. I was hoping Supernova could do it. With that last SCV poll, I was hoping he could do it. Alas, our night ends there. As unfortunately, fortunately for Rain, and personally I'm a Rain fan, so I like to see him win, but I wanted to see a couple more games. Supernova, I feel like, maybe could have shown some better play, Maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, it's Rain, guys. He was a former Kespa player, GSL player. It's not going to be easy one way or another. But you know what? It was still a good fight put up by SuperNova. He did take a game off of Rain, and you know what? We had some good gameplay here. It was very, I mean, even if they were losses, he still put up a fight. It wasn't like, oh, he just lost within the first few minutes, right? It wasn't anything that ridiculous. So, it was still great games and always a great opportunity to see people of this caliber play, and I had a blast.
Indeed. I mean, no matter what your opinion is, there's pretty much always something here for the fight night for you. Whether it's seeing, your favorite personality play, maybe it's Fenner or Desro, or you want to see some high-level PvT action, you always have to enjoy yourself here at the Team Gravity Fight Night. And unfortunately, it was the 4-1 for Rain, but a congratulations to him. He's $60 richer. However, SuperNova does not walk away empty-handed either, with $20, but that money's got to come from somewhere, doesn't it, Droopy?
Yep, it certainly does. Thank you to Hitbox.tv for supporting these events, as well as our donators today from OFICU, and as well as Poison. And also, OFICU did subscribe to us today, so thanks to him as well. So if you guys want to support us too with these fight nights, please make sure to click that follow button. And then if you are so kind, you can subscribe as well, because we have a lot of cool benefits for subscribers, including emotes, as well as the ability to post cool things in the chat that normal viewers cannot.
Yes, apparently you can't quite post GIFs in the chat, unfortunately, but you do get the emotes for subscribing, and there's like a fair number of emotes as well. Let's see, there's like 15, 14 emotes that you can post in the chat. Some pretty nice ones if you want to do, wrecked or OP, whatever you want to say in the chat with those emotes. You have got the opportunity to if you do subscribe. And you also do have the opportunity of getting a G2A coupon code for $4.99, which is the price of the subscription. So it's kind of a net zero subscription. You pay $4.99 and you get a $4.99 coupon. So either way, it's a pretty good deal.
All right, guys. Thank you once again for being with us for this fight night. It was a blast casting for you. Hope you enjoyed it, and especially to those of you who are with us since, well, for the last 6 hours, because before fight night, we were casting the Clan War, Team Gravity versus Team MIA. So big thanks to you guys who have been here for that long. Thanks to Kieran for being our amazing observer, holding down the fort there with the camera work as always. You can follow him at Kieran TV, especially if you need a guy to run production for your event. He's an amazing person to talk to about that, as well as my co-caster here, Cybert. It was a pleasure casting with you again, my friend.
Unfortunately, it was a little bit shorter, but it's always a good time.
Yes, absolutely. And we can follow you where?
On Twitter at OneCyber. Not everything is StarCraft 2 related there, so if you're one of those people who only ever wants to see StarCraft 2, then maybe I am not the person for you. But if you do want to see some more of me, you can follow me at OneCybert. But that leaves just one of us, Droopy.
Yep. As for me, I am the official Team Gravity caster. Cast all their Clan War events and whatnot, so you can always catch me doing that either on this channel or twitch.tv/Team Gravity, as well as my own channel, which is twitch.tv/DroopyTown. You can always follow me too on Twitter at DroopyTown, and catch my YouTube channel where I upload a lot of these games, including Clan War games for Team Gravity, which is youtube.com/DroopyTown. So, yeah, guys, happy to cast for you again. I'm sure Cyber agrees, and we'll see you next week.